Well, good morning, everybody, here and at home. To those of us of a certain age, you may remember a chap called Max Bygraves. Well, what have Max Bygraves, Canon Matthew, Father Peter and Father Andy got in common? Well, they all want to tell us a story. Now, that's probably a terrible impersonation, but on a more serious note, we only tend to hear about the good news from stories 2,000 years ago. And we only hear those stories typically in the scriptures, in the gospel and the sermons from the priests. Now, the point I'm making is this: we don't actually hear those stories from each other. We don't actually hear how God has touched our lives, or those that we know, or those that are close to us. So, here's two questions and an invitation for you. Would you like to hear good news stories that demonstrate God in our lives today? Second question, to what extent are you searching to inspire or to energise your own faith journey? If your answer is yes to either of those questions, or to both, then join us half an hour before Mass next Sunday here at St Bridget's between 10 to 10:30 for our Living Faith initiative. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's going to be a stampede to the church at 10 o'clock before that Mass, because you can also actually access that service and the initiative online, and those details are in the newsletter. Now, this is a new initiative on the last Sunday of each month for the next 6 months. It's going to be hosted by parishioners to hear our stories, your stories, and from others like Denzel Washington and Sir Anthony Hopkins. Now, I'm afraid that Denzel and Anthony won't be able to join us at our first session, and they send their apologies, but they will be making a guest appearance at later sessions. Now, what's this all about? Well, in short, the purpose is to share and reflect upon how God has answered prayers, been present in our situations, or just surprised us in our everyday lives. Now, this could be in ordinary and not just in exceptional ways. For example, it might be an act of kindness that someone has shared during the pandemic. Equally, it might be how God has consoled and supported us in difficult times. This may feel like a culture shock for Catholics, actually sharing these sorts of experiences publicly. However, stories or snippets shared can be read out by you personally, or if you would prefer, by one of us, one of the parishioners, on your behalf. And they can be anonymised if desired. Or you can use a bit of modern technology and record an audio message on your phone, and we can play that out. In other words, you don't have to be stood up here, you don't have to, even if you stand up here, you don't have to feel whether you're not a public speaker. Okay? The important point is sharing our stories and hearing from each other. So, please contact me to send me your examples, your stories, your snippets, and or if you want to speak or have your stories shared. A final thought. We sometimes complain about the media being full of bad news stories. Well, here's our chance to share the good news and come and join us at this Mass, just prior to this Mass, either in person or via live stream. And the first session will be to hear exceptional and everyday stories, initially shared by my daughter and myself, and anyone else that contributes. So thank you very much for your time, and take care. Thank you, Father.